Jester.
Jester. Don't try and knock over the cup.
Don't be that guy. You're not that guy, pal.
Oh no, I'm just rubbing up against it because I want affection.
No, now
I'm
she's
just pawing at it because it's interesting to me. Go away. Enough of this. Go away. Go away. Hey, go away. Stop that. Stop it.
Just not good at taking a hint. Now she wants to play with fire.
No, we're not going to play with the lighter. This cat's going to be the death of us. You know this, right?
She might be the death of herself. Don't chew on the lighter. Is the cat going to be the death of us via stress or murder?
Yes, I feel like both can be accurate is the thing.
Murder via stress? No,
don't try to. You're unplugging You're trying to unplug our shit now. Okay, now I'm picking you up because you're causing a problem now. Picking you up, and we're putting you down. And we're putting you down on the floor.
So when we're rich and famous and we have our own, space to do recordings, there's definitely going to be a door to block the cat out.
I feel like we might be able to accomplish that before we're rich or famous. Honestly.
True. I mean, right now we could put the cat in your room or in the bathroom like we do when we're filming TikToks, but
it's entirely possible. Welcome to the Dungeon Bros podcast. This is our 7th episode. First time recording this episode.
Absolutely not the second time we're recording it.
Sam's lying to you. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we're doing this episode. We're going to be talking about the upcoming releases in 2022 for Dungeons & Dragons books, as well as the new release from Darrington Press, a Critical Role joint, the Tal'Dori Reborn campaign setting.
Yes.
A revised and updated and more feature-dense campaign setting for Tal'Dori.
New and improved.
New and improved as well. Now, we have a couple of announcements. Mm-hmm. Big announcements.
We're excited.
We hit 10,000 followers on the TikTok.
We did.
I might put like some celebratory music here. Like a little... That's Final Fantasy victory music. That's also copywritten, so we've now lost this episode entirely.
2 seconds.
I mean, we've lost everything in this episode because of Windows updates.
That's
already
true.
Once.
Yeah.
So,
but
why not get the second one copyright struck for a bad rendition of the Final Fantasy victory sound?
You know what? I'm sure that my intonation is so terrible that the bots won't be able to figure it out.
Anyway, we hit 10,000 followers on the TikTok. We're in the Creator Fund now. It's a big deal.
First big milestone, really, for the TikTok.
First big milestone.
But yes, we released our first homebrew pack on Drive-Thru RPG.
Indeed. Our first pack on Drive-Thru RPG, the 5 magic item pack, you can get for free. If you are listening to the podcast currently, there's a link tree in our YouTube channel, as well as the link tree is linked in the description of the video form of the podcast. If you are listening on a podcast service around the globe, go to our TikTok page at Dungeon Bros YT.
Or our Twitter page.
Or Twitter.
At Dungeon Bros YT.
It's a free magic item pack. We got some good ones in there. Got a long bow and a short bow because there's only one magical bow officially released in D&D, which just dumbfounds me that that's a thing that we still have to deal with. We got some magical manacles to help with capturing some magic people, as well as
we have a buff to bladed objects.
A nice little sharpening stone.
And our last item is an object, I'm sure. I don't remember what it is right now.
Our last object, the Mockingbird Tome.
That's right.
It's a wizard spellbook, but it can also be just like a very useful like infiltration tool for just anyone. It doesn't have to be a spellbook. Very nifty. Anyway, those 5 items available on our Drive-Thru RPG for free in a free magic item pack. We want to do more of these free packs in the future. We've got a spell pack that's about ready to go. That'll be up in the month of February. Maybe by the time you are listening to this. Definitely by the time you listen to the next episode of the podcast. But if you are watching this on the YouTube or listening to it now, it'll be available very soon. Why does Windows Updates hate me?
It's not just you. Windows Updates hates everyone.
Just people.
You just happen to be the target of their
ire.
Of their ire at this point.
Yeah.
You critical failed on the saving throw.
My computer definitely rolled a nat 1 on its updates save. That's for sure. Because we recorded this podcast live on the TikTok, as we always do every 2 weeks. We record live on TikTok. And Audacity was chugging along, as it always does. It's a perfectly good audio recording software for free, open source. It's been around forever. It was in the process of exporting the raw file that my computer updated and didn't let me say no. To be fair, I don't think I was watching it at the time. I'm pretty sure I hit export and then we walked away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was a football happening.
There was a football happening. AFC Championship game for the Cincinnati Bengals. By the time you watch this or listen to this podcast, you will already know the result of their game in Kansas City. I'm quite nervous, but needless to say, we are recording this for a second time.
Yep, this time
we're not live on TikTok.
Not live.
It's a Saturday afternoon. We're just busting this out as best we can. We're busting. We notorious for our busting skills, I would think.
That being said, if you follow us on the TikToks, go ahead and check out our live sometime. We did one where we had some lovely interactions last night with
we had
role-playing degenerates.
Role-playing degenerates, as well as John Keener IV.
Yes.
Very, very wonderful people joined us in our TikTok live stream celebrating our 10,000 followers. We were drinking some bourbon, having a good time. Well, technically a blend of bourbons and scotches and Japanese whiskey and Irish whiskey. And we have a lovely decanter full of our favorite whiskeys. It's wonderful. This is ostensibly a D&D podcast. I think we may have mentioned this on the last one, but there is apparently a drinking game that our friend Andy created where he drinks whenever we say the word ostensibly. During the live stream, we added a couple other things that we have added to that list. Duly noted.
Yep.
Duly noted, top of that list. I feel like I say that a lot in real life.
I do too, yes. Or just noted.
As well as the link tree in the bio.
We were saying that a lot last night.
We were saying Linktree in the bio quite a bit.
Gotta pump up our stuff, man.
I also feel like for the podcast we could add moving on as well to that list of drinking game items. So please grab a beverage unless you are at work or it's a weekday. You know, maybe don't grab too many beverages.
Or if you're underage.
If
you are 14 and listening to this podcast, you're not.
First of all,
shouldn't be drinking.
First of all, you should probably talk to your parents because I don't think they'd want you.
I'd say 90% of the time we're pretty PG. There is that like 10% of the time where we hit rated R.
The first 10%, the first 10% of the podcast that people listen to. Exactly.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, let's get into the topic at hand here that we previously talked about, recorded live on the TikTok, and now we're having to redo.
Yes.
The releases that we know of for Dungeons & Dragons books in 2022 is the new year. It is upon us. It is almost the end of January as we record this. It will be the end. January will be over by the time you're listening to this.
It is.
But we have already had 2 of the major known releases in the D&D world. One of them, not even D&D officially. We got that wrong when we talked about it last time.
Erroneous error on our part. We apologize.
Indeed. The Tal'Dori Reborn is a Darrington Press printing. It is third-party D&D 5e campaign setting that we will be talking about for the second half of this episode. But the other thing that has released is the Rules Expansion gift set, which comes with the new book Morden, and the Monsters of the Multiverse, which is a dope name. Now, if you want this book, you have to buy the bundle.
Currently.
The bundle's $170.
You get 3 books. You get a Xanathar, the Toshas, and the Morden Canons. If you are interested, if you don't have any of these books, this is a pretty good deal, all things considered. Yes.
If you already have Xanathars and Toshas, then one would not be judged harshly for just ignoring the Morden Canon's book as of right now.
That's what we're doing.
It will be released in May. Thank you, Jester. We're not playing right now.
But yes, the book will be released individually by itself come May, I believe, 17th. Though online right now, you can find plenty of the content as people are reviewing it. People who have bought it early or on release with this pack. A lot of
reprints.
A lot of reprints. They reprinted and modified a bunch of races.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah, pretty much anything. I think it was anything after
or anything before Tasha's.
Yeah, but
really,
they removed ASI or ability score increases based on race, and then they did change some of it.
Pretty much all races now have a floating +1 and a floating +2, or I think 3 floating +1s if you want.
I think so.
That they can add to whatever stats that you would like. So, no more pigeonholed classes and races, which is nice. But the vast majority of that book is, in some ways, a reprint or a refresh of something that was in a previous book, like the Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, like the Volo's Guide to Monsters, etc., and so on. There's still a whole lot of cool stat blocks in there, some new stuff for the bestiary. A lot of stuff that has been previously printed in the bestiary is reworked. They've made spellcasting classes a lot easier to read by putting their spells under actions and bonus actions instead of just a chart on its own. And they've changed pretty much everything from simply stating what their alignment is to stating that they are typically that alignment. A very useful tool to all of us, I'm sure it is. Because we all think, oh, what's our alignment for the creature that the party is fighting right now?
Right. There's, I don't know about you, but if I got a party of good characters, good wholesome characters, and I really wanted to fight a Celestial, that's going to be an evil Celestial. No problem. No problems.
And also 99% of the time, what their actual literal alignment is has basically no bearing on what's going on.
Yeah, I think there anymore. Even there's the detect good and evil spell, which doesn't detect good and evil. It detects creature type. I've only seen third-party things, I think, which have if they're this alignment, then this happens. If they're this alignment, then they can wield this weapon. But other than that, it's a table from antiquity, if you will.
So there is a bit of controversy surrounding this book because it is not being released on its own, and the only way to get it is through a gift set. But since it's mostly reprints, I think everyone's fine to skip it until it comes out on its own in May if you want it. Pretty much all of the contents of it are already online.
Yeah.
So do what you will. Next, the Tal'Dorei Reborn. We're going to talk about that later. After that, we have Critical Role, Call of the Netherdeep, which is going to be a campaign book that takes characters from levels 3 to 12, expanding a lot of Exandria from Jorhas in Wildmount. You eventually move to Marquette and then plunge yourselves into the Netherdeep, what they call a terrifying cross between the Far Realm and the Deep Ocean. Whole lot of new lore and art for Exandria, a bunch of new magic items, creatures, and new rival NPCs. Not quite sure what that's going to mean, but it's an official release in partnership with Critical Role. If you are a fan of Critical Role, or you like the Wildmount books, or you like the Tal'Dorei Reborn book, pick it up. I'm going to pick it up, that's for sure.
We'll be getting it, and we'll be talking about it when it drops.
Absolutely. Interesting. It's a campaign book. I'm glad that they made it explicitly clear that it is a campaign and not a campaign setting so that they can just avoid the nonsense. And if it is as feature-rich and detailed as the Wildmount book is, then I have very, very high hopes for Call of the Netherdeep. Pick it up. I'm excited. Now, those are the books that we definitively know exist. There are obviously going to be other books throughout the year. They don't just stop printing in May.
No.
But we don't know the specifics of what these books are, what they're called. What we do know from Ray Winiger, who is on the design team for Wizards of the Coast, he tweeted out, this is back in June, mind you, so this also may have changed, but this is the most recent information we really have on D&D settings. They want to revive quote-unquote classic settings, and they're in production right now. 2 products. One of them is being overseen by Chris Perkins and is apparently nearly complete as of last June. Mm-hmm. So that may have already come out. Probably not. It may have been Fizban's, maybe, but that's not a setting, really.
No.
Because that's, even though it's got a lot of Dragonlance, it's not really a classic setting.
No,
so we suspect that it's still going to come out. And they have a second one that is led by Wes Schneider with an assist from Ari Levitch, which is apparently just ramping up as of last June. They're both targeting 2022 releases and the formats you've never seen before.
Which that part's an interesting little tidbit.
Because obviously they're going to make a print run. They're going to do their D&D Beyond digital run. But like, what other format could it be?
Right.
Unless they're doing like some cool multimedia stuff, which I think would be cool if they were. But they're setting books and they're not campaign books. Campaign books, I think, if they had like a multimedia component of like recorded voice lines for important like setup stuff. I mean.
In previous podcasts, we did talk about Spelljammer and how in the late 90s, early 2000s, TSR and then subsequently Wizards, I believe, were going to put out multimedia forms of the campaign setting Spelljammer, including one which would have a more or less TV. They were going to do a Spelljammer board game, which was going to be accompanied by a live-action TV show, more or less, that the characters in the TV show would do the same things as the players in the board game. It was horrendously bad. It was hilarious from what I saw online. Because I do have videos. There is video evidence of it, and it's terrible. It'll be interesting to see. Again, we still, at this point, end of January of 2022, we have not had any more official word on what these could be.
Now, the comments in this thread this Twitter thread are just filled with what people want. Gamma World, Spelljammers, Dragonlance, Birthright, Dark Sun, Greyhawk, Mystara. There's a lot of classic D&D settings that they could be referencing here. But moving on, we also know, in addition to those two titles, they have two brand new D&D settings in early development, as well as a return to a setting we've already recovered. So that's 3 additional ones. And Ray Winiger specifies that no, they are not Magic the Gathering worlds. So we may be returning to Magic the Gathering for books this year, but they are not the now total of 5 new titles that apparently they are working on. And he also goes on to preface, or to little asterisk at the end. As he mentioned in a dev blog, they develop more material than they publish, so it's possible one or more of the last 3 that they are working on won't reach production, but as of right now, they're all looking great. We also don't know if they would be released this year. Brand new D&D settings is cool, and a return to a setting they've already covered, so that would include what?
Sword Coast.
The Sword Coast, Forgotten Realms, Baldur's Gate.
I'm looking at our books and realizing we only have Sword Coast when it comes down to, and technically Strixhaven when it comes down to
campaign settings,
modules, however you want to phrase them.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if they returned to Eberron. That one's unique. Greyhawk, I could see happening. But in terms of like the classics that they go to, I think Spelljammers, given what we've been seeing in the news recently in the last couple months, Spelljammers seems like a lock.
Yes, it does.
I would say. I would not be surprised if one of them was Dragonlance.
Especially with Fizban's having just been put out at the end of last year.
And I honestly wouldn't be really surprised by like Dark Sun or Gamma World. But there's a lot of possibilities here, and these are also might not at all be coming out this year.
And
none of that is to talk about any of the Magic the Gathering worlds that could be making an appearance as well.
Oh yeah. But stay tuned to our podcast in the future, and you will definitely hear as we know more.
100%. Now, let's get to the meat of what's going on here today.
We've taken care of one layer of bread.
We've taken care of one thing, but we got I believe this is a first proper just Darrington Press release D&D book. I believe they did the novel.
The novel, was through Penguin Random House.
Mm-hmm. So this is the first proper Darrington Press release. Tal'Dori Reborn. It is an updated, revised, and more fully realized version of what they were trying to do with the Tal'Dori campaign setting that they released back in 2014, 15?
I believe it was... We looked this up. It was 5 years ago.
It was 5 years.
It was only 5 years ago. It was 2017 that they did that. And then Wildmount, of course, the first Critical Role Wizards of the Coast collaboration came out, I believe, in early 2020.
Yep. Now, the Tal'Dori Reborn setting has a structure that if you looked through the Wildmount campaign book, it'll look very, very familiar. And there is a good amount of overlap because they are both in the world of Exandria, so a lot of the Pantheon is similar. A lot of the first chapter sort of history of Exandria and Tal'Dori and the time and calendar and the cosmos of Exandria and all of that is rather similar to the Wildmount book. But they integrate together quite well, I would say, because of that. There are some differences in the lesser idols of the Pantheon. There's some overlap with Vesh, the Bloody Siren, and the Traveler. But there's a lot of new lesser idols that are specific to the Tal'Dori setting, as well as the factions and societies in Tal'Dori. I think that's one of my favorite breakdowns that the Wildmount book has that a lot of other campaign settings don't, are getting into like some major characters from the major factions that exist in those campaigns. You got the Tal'Dori Council, Arcana, Pansophical, Ashari, a lot of things you would recognize, Myriad, etc., and so on. The first two chapters, I feel like, are just kind of like little set dressing for you to really get you ready for the meat of what this campaign guide has to offer, which is the third chapter in my mind. But do you have anything to say about chapters 1 and 2?
It's one of those things where, like you said, it's a lot of reprint, or not reprint necessarily, but revision and updating. But it is definitely still geared towards if this is going to be your first book to pick up as a Critical Role enthusiast. It does a very good job of keeping that welcome to the adventure sort of vibe.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I like the layout of it specifically, and having the NPCs added in there is pretty nice.
The layout is a big thing from the original. The original was very... this one lines a little bit better up with the Wizards of the Coast stylization, where of course...
While still being distinct and different and not breaking the OGL and all that.
Yep, but the old one definitely had like these strangely full fold out, like you'd have to have both pages open, and there were things that just didn't line up right. But now they've kind of I don't want to say that they've improved. They've printed more books now. They kind of get a bit of understand the process a little better.
I do want to clarify, OGL is the open gaming license for D&D, for people that create their own homebrew content and what they're allowed and not allowed to talk about and all that kind of stuff. Moving on, though, we have Chapter 3, which is the Gazetteer. It's got very, very detailed breakdowns of the major regions of Tal'Dori and many points of interest in those regions: Lucidian Coast, Alabaster Sierras, Cliff Keep Mountains, etc., the Verdant Expanse, as well as a small section on other lands of Exandria, which has Marquette and Wildmount and the Shattered Teeth and all that kind of stuff. This is my favorite part of the book. It was my favorite part of Wildmount. The details and the information that they provide for cities, specifically population breakdowns, hierarchies, trades,
imports, exports. Yeah,
it's all very, very helpful, useful background information that a lot of people, when they're homebrewing their own worlds, don't often think about, and can really help you with your description as a DM, help set apart the location that your characters are currently at as opposed to something they were recently at, with just small little details that really mean nothing but make you look like a much better DM than you might think you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's each person has only so much creativity in their mind, and when it comes to describing this area, especially if you haven't changed majorly changed climates or something like that, you like you're saying, it can be very, very samey, very similar to the last place. So yeah, just having and this can also give you inspiration to in your own DMing to this place is nearer to a mountain, so it's going to have more of the mountain ores that you excavated, where this one's out in the middle of a plain, so they're probably going to have more farmland, things like that,
crops and stuff. The other major thing about these cities that's great are the adventure hooks that are available for most all of the POIs that are in the book. They give you a short little hook that you can offer your players. They leave it open-ended for you to figure out what happens on your end, but some of the prompts are just hilarious and amazing. They tend to be prompts that are any level, or they might give you a tier, like a high level play or a mid level. They might it might include a specific monster from either this book's bestiary or a bestiary from another book. All very good stuff. I love there is a Whitestone adventure involving Percy and Vex's children getting lost in the dungeons of the Castle of Whitestone, and they need help being found.
Yes.
Stuff like that is adorable and hilarious, which I think we haven't mentioned. This takes place about 20 years after the events of Campaign 1 of Critical Role.
Yes, that is correct.
So Vox Machina is pretty much retired from adventuring at this point. And their characters are referenced in the book as well as being important people that you would encounter.
Yes. I mean, so of course, we'll get to this later on, but all of Vox Machina stat blocks, high-level stat blocks, are at the end of the book. And then throughout, for example, the Tal'Dorei Council of in the society factions and organizations include some of the members of Vox Machina and things like that.
The coin mistress herself, Vexalia. It's wonderful. Spoilers. Campaign 1, I guess, or 2, really.
You know what? If you don't know by now, we're far enough beyond that it's not spoilers anymore.
I agree.
I think the rule is 6 months,
something like that. So it's on the Tal'Dorei Council. Hey Matt, who's on the Tal'Dorei Council?
Another one just died.
Another one just died. That's campaign 2 funny. All right, chapter 4. You have character options. There's a brief section about playing in the Tal'Dorei campaign specifically, and about tying your characters into the world of Tal'Dorei, helping you figure out how to pick out a location, a backstory, a background that makes sense. But there's a very long breakdown of the many of the races and cultures that exist in Tal'Dorei, and specifically where Dragonborns, or what Dragonborns tend to be doing, what Genasi tend to be doing, but they're called Elemental Ancestry, probably because Genasi is not in the OGL, would be my guess.
Dragonborn is also called Dragon Blood. I wanted to make sure it was blood, not brood. It's 1 letter difference.
Dragon Blood.
Also with the dwarves and elves, instead of saying just, high elf or hill dwarf, they actually link it to locations that you can find on the map. But they're Craghammer dwarves instead of mountain dwarves, I believe, and things like Seangorn elves instead of high elves.
Which helps get around the OGL a little bit, but at the same time is very helpful if you are actually running a Tal'Dorei campaign for yourself. And small little tweaks like that in general, and this just doesn't go for just Tal'Dorei, but if you are creating a homebrew world and you can tie in some of the sub races that are available for races to locations instead of just their generic names, that can really help with the immersion of your players and helping them really get attached to the world right out of the gate. Along those lines, there's also the backgrounds. Only 5. The Ashari Clasp, a member of the Clasp, a Lyceum Scholar, a Reformed Cultist, and a Whitestone Rifle Corps member.
Rifle Corps member is the only new one in this book. The other 4 were in the original.
Yep. I think they've got a little tweaks to them. Nothing too crazy. There's also another background feature that's called the Supernatural Blessing. It is a Fate Touched. It is very similar in theme to the Hollow One from Wildmount, as sort of just like an additional, it's not a background in and of itself, but like an additional set of abilities that you could be given. You have to talk to your DM about it. Of course, it's not an option that you can just take. There's a page on Hemocraft and talking about blood magic, which is a big deal in Exandria, in Tal'Dorei specifically. A lot of how to theme it, as well as whether or not your characters or your players are okay with that.
Yeah.
And how to have that discussion.
Yeah, they're one of a number of things that they suggest talking about, and the D&D community in general suggest talking to your players about, to make sure everybody is comfortable and ready to have the full effect of your table.
We also have some subclasses here. A couple of them are blood magic subclasses. You got the Barbarian, the Path of the Juggernaut, which is a returning subclass. The Bard, College of Tragedy, which is new. The Cleric, Blood Domain, which is returning. The Cleric, Moon Domain, which is new. The Druid, Circle of the Blighted, is new. The Way of the Cobalt Soul Monk is new, but there's also been homebrew releases from Matt Mercer about...
Cobalt Soul is actually in the original.
It is in the original?
It is in the original.
Shit.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, I have it because I went through the old one previously, and I have that written down on the...
Yeah. But since Marisha played Beauregard in Campaign 2, there have been some significant changes that have been made to that subclass in particular.
Very notably.
The Paladin, Oath of the Open Sea, which was created for Ford in Campaign 2, is in here. The Runechild Sorcerer, as well as a new subclass, the Wizard, Blood Magic Wizard. So 2 blood magic Hemocraft based subclasses, which is neat. Looking at these subclasses, what are you vibing with?
I am not a druid stan. There are a lot of people on the internet who love a druid.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those. But Circle of the Blighted, that actually, like, the effects and the flavor around it, I do quite enjoy. I think it's very I think it's neat, and I think the druids are often just so bland, samey.
Yeah.
And I think this one gives a neat, different perspective on the druid. But my opinion, the druid still needs a rewrite, but of course I know I'll get a lot of hate for that. That's fine.
I mean, there is a 5.5 edition that's coming in the coming years.
There is, but I don't think that they're going to rewrite the druid how I think the druid needs to be rewritten.
Yeah, maybe reflavored. The abilities that the druid has, I think, are fine. As with many full caster classes, the subclass kind of means a little bit less than half casters or martial classes, but a lot of the druids are just really the same kind of thing. And I think as they moved on with Tasha's and Xanathars, they kind of made them a bit more unique. The Wildfire Druid, the Circle of Spores, all that kind of stuff, making it more thematic. But yeah, I agree. The Blighted is cool, though.
I like the Blighted.
Blighted is dope. Obviously, Way of the Cobalt Soul Monk and the Oath of the Open Sea Paladin going to feel really familiar if you watched Campaign 2 and dug that. Love me some blood magic.
You are a big fan of the blood magics.
All right, we have been toiling about with some ideas for a blood magic homebrew pack of our own that we may release this year, hopefully. That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
But the Blood Domain Cleric and the Blood Magic Wizard I think are pretty dope. But honestly, like, I don't normally go to just kind of your beef boy martial classes. I like a wizard, I like a warlock, that kind of stuff.
A little bit of flexibility in there to do what you want.
But the Path of Juggernaut Barbarian, I mean, makes me feel like Juggernaut, like I'm an X-Men. It's pretty awesome. I think it's kind of just a better Berserker Barbarian in a lot of ways.
It's a kind of a berserker mixed with like a push your enemy is around barbarian.
Yeah. The last bit of this chapter are the feats. Most of them are returning feats from the original Tal'Dorei setting, but a lot of them have rewrites to them. Some of them are just left the same. Like Cruel is effectively exactly the same, just slightly different wording and formatting to make it easier to read.
That was a big one, was the formatting that they did in this section.
Yeah. But some of them, like Spell Driver, for example, have... it's a feat that allows you to cast more than one leveled spell in a turn, so action and bonus action. And in Campaign 1, that kind of like ran a little bit wild with Keyleth. But here they added some new rules to it to specify that only one of them can be of 4th level or higher, and the other one has to be first, second, or third level.
I believe they bumped the level requirement too on that one.
Yes.
From 8th to 11th level.
Yes. So you have to take it at a higher level, and the additional spell that you can cast is capped at level 3 for spell slots. Which, I mean, I think it's still a good feat, just because, I mean, it lets you do what you want to do, as well as get a Misty Step or get a spiritual...
A healing word or a cure wounds off.
Or even like a spiritual weapon. A lot of really great bonus action spells that you would have to limit yourself to a cantrip otherwise. Now you can just do with another spell of your choice of pretty much any level, which I think is good. There's a lot of other really cool feats in there. Thrown Weapon Master.
Yes.
Or Thrown Weapon Expert or something like that goes with... That would pair very well with some of the Tasha's fighting styles for thrown weapon fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, the Tasha's really bumped the number of fighting styles up, I think, by 2. I think they doubled it, and there are a lot of cool ones in there, and it gives a lot more variety. And
you can get a better Vax'ildan than Vax'ildan going here.
Yes. Dagger, dagger, dagger.
Dagger, 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 dagger.
And Snake Belt.
Chapter 5, Dungeon Master's Toolkit. Now, this is where you get some advice about creating adventures and how to fit it into Tal'Dorei specifically. Some optional campaign rules that you can implement, some of which pair nice with some of the optional rules that are in the Dungeon Master's Guide as well. But the bulk here is the treasures of Tal'Dorei. You've got some magic items, you've got some tools of the Ashari, as they're put, which are just magic items,
but they're very flavorful.
But they're very flavorful. And then the thing that most people are here for with the magic items, the vestiges of divergence. Pretty much all of the vestiges are returning, with a couple of notable exceptions. One of which being Dwethvar, the vestige that was found and created by Ford in Campaign 2, with the help of the Mighty Nine, of course.
Like Caduceus. That was his big goal for a while. It was like, I want to find the sword for Ford. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ford's like, all right, cool. And when they were about to forge it, he's like, fuck my dark magic sword. Fuck the falchion. Anyway. Love it. I always got to shout out Fenthris for being a magic bow that is not an oath bow.
You do love a magic bow.
I love a magic bow because there's only one official magic bow. And that's the oath bow. It's kind of not great, and it's only a legendary, so it's really hard to find. A lot of good stuff here. The style of magic item that Matt Mercer made for the vestiges of leveling up with your characters is amazing. Is exceptionally personal, and I think Wizards of the Coast should just copy that entirely. Like, make some dope magic items that you can give to low level players that level up with them and become better and super powerful by the time they're mid and late tier in their leveling.
Yeah, the current way D&D is played really relies on you. Like, okay, your 1st through 5th level, you're gonna find or buy a +1 weapon at some point.
Yeah.
As opposed to that, I mean, you could do a whole campaign around just finding you each have these low level weapons, and your whole goal is to level them up.
Yeah.
To fight the big bad guy.
That would be a fun Tal'Dorei adventure. Is you all happen upon this horde of dormant vestiges, and you have to learn what they are and how to level them up, and then some great power comes in, etc. and so on.
Then you become Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Great responsibility indeed. Now, the last chapter of this book, Allies and Adversaries of Tal'Dorei, is the bestiary. You got a small section on non-player characters. They're just humanoids. Though there are a couple humanoids in the actual breakdown of their bestiary. But you got Ashari, the Cinder Slag Elemental, the Craghammer Goat Knight. A lot of these are returning. But there are a lot of new ones. One of the big new ones for me, at least, is Juriel, the Katogeist.
Oh yes,
from campaign 2. This sort of spectral assassin.
Lots of arms.
A lot of arms.
A lot of swords.
A lot of swords. She helped out the Mighty Nine under the cathedral in Rexentrum when they were fighting Oban for the last time.
Yes.
Full stat block for the Katogeist, which is pretty cool. But the thing that we're really all here for, at the very end of this bestiary is an entire section dedicated to all of the members of Vox Machina.
Vox Machina.
All of these stat blocks are very chunky.
Yes.
They are very large. If these NPCs become viable opponents for your party, they can fuck them up.
They are Vox Machina at their strongest point in the campaign. Yes. Right at the end there.
This is a wizened, powerful, trained, accomplished group of exceptionally powerful people. And let's go one by one.
Sure.
We got Grog Strongjaw right out of the gate. It's got a description of him, his temperament, his personality, as well as pretty much everyone has an after the epilogue section about what happened after they defeated Vecna. Grog retired to Westruun to live with Pike, and he has dedicated himself to read and strengthen his mind. He's learned letters, shapes, colors, numbers even, and he organizes a quadrennial event in Whitestone that he calls the Luncheon of Champions, where he personally sends handwritten letter invitations to the greatest warriors of Exandria to battle in an all-out brawl and then have lunch and ale with him. And it has a cute little handwritten letter art from Grog, which is hilarious.
It's great.
He even spells his name in cursive. It's adorable. Now, a stat block. A lot of features you will recognize from features in the player's handbook for the classes. We're not going to do a complete breakdown, but all of them have special equipment. He's got the Belt of Dwarven Kind, the Blood Axe, the Dwarven Thrower, and the Titanstone Knuckles.
All things he found throughout the campaign 1.
He's got multi-attack, 3 when he's raging, that he can take with his Blood Axe, Dwarven Thrower, Titanstone Knuckles, and it's got a breakdown for all of them. He can enlarge himself once per rest, or once per long rest. He can rage, dealing an extra 4 to his... all the stuff that you would expect. He has a reaction, Opportunist. When a creature within 5 feet of Grog casts a spell or deals damage to him, he can make a melee weapon attack against that creature. Spell Breaker. If he damages a creature that is concentrating on a spell, he gives they have disadvantage on the saving throw to maintain concentration. And in addition, Grog has advantage on saving throws against spells cast by creatures within 5 feet of him. So, as you would expect, he's going in and he's fucking people up. It's beefy. This is a beefy boy.
Chonky.
Also, since he has been learning to read and write, his intelligence is an 8 now. So it's only -1.
There you go.
That's nice. The next one. The Voice of the Tempest, Keyleth. After the epilogue, she buried herself in the duties as Voice of the Tempest after she lost Vax'ildan. She did everything she could to ally the Arashari with the rest of Tal'Dorei and create a better world, prepared to unite against threats like the Whispered One and the Chroma Conclave. She's also like the official ambassador to Tal'Dorei.
It's a lot. That's a lot of jobs.
It's a lot of jobs.
Being an ambassador. Also, Keyleth, of course, believe the only Vox Machina member to make a brief appearance in campaign 2.
Yep.
Seen through a portal.
Seen through a portal by by not Veth.
Veth, yes.
Veth the Brave.
Who then had commissioned some antlers made.
It was lovely. A lot of what you would expect out of her stat block.
Out of a high-level moon druid.
Advantage on concentration checks. Advantage on saving throws against being charmed. Magic, yada yada. Special equipment. She has a Circlet of Wisdom, +2 leather armor, Ring of Protection with a +2, and the Spire of Conflux. Sadly, this is the old form of spellcasting, so you're not going to have everything put into actions and bonus actions and all that, though there are a couple of key actions. Some of her most used stuff, like Chain Lightning from the Spire of Conflux, Meteor from her Earth Elemental form, and Shape Change as well. Some of her favorites being a Planetar, an Adult Bronze Dragon, or any other creature of CR 20 or lower. Any 20th level spellcaster is going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially a high-level druid that can just, at will, cast Shape Change on themselves.
Yes.
This is probably the one that I'd be most afraid of if I were to fight as a party member.
Oh, yeah. Like you said, I mean, just being able to turn into an earth elemental and then have 100 and something temporary hit points, and once those get knocked down, next turn, right back at it.
Shape change to a Planetar or a dragon, or like Keyleth, though her hit points are pretty modest at 150 and her armor class is only 17, even with the armor and the Ring of Protection, she is a force to be reckoned with.
Again, probably not. You're probably not going to be fighting a high-level druid in their humanoid form, and if you are, they're probably going to be throwing some heavy spells at you.
Yeah, that's not to mention, like, she can concentrate on spells while shape changed and wild shaped, which is just ludicrous. Next, we have Percival Frederick Strine von Muso Kowalski de Rollo III, as well as Vexalia de Rollo.
You can call him Percy.
You can call him Percy. They're both married now. After the epilogue, Percy is retired from public life not long after the defeat of Vecna, and he now dedicates himself to his duties as the leader of Whitestone as much as he can, though he still has more interest in creating than governing. Loves to do his tinkering in private, as always. Helps with a lot of engineering throughout Exandria, specifically in Whitestone's Skyport and Zephyra's network of windmills. Vexalia is now on the Tal'Dorei Council as the Master of Commerce. She is also making frequent use of teleportation circles between Whitestone and Amon. Got a lot of duties. She's very important.
Duty.
One thing they do say that she does occasionally like to hop out with the Grey Hunters to eliminate threats in Tal'Dorei, but not often. They have a nice little family portrait of the de Rollos, including Vexalia and Trinket and their children. I know this is long enough away, but not so long away, that Percival is quite old.
Yes.
Not dead yet. And
he's got a beard.
Yeah. And and I will say that Vex definitely looks like Laura in the painting.
I mean, yeah. What else are you going to model Vex off of besides her creator and player, Laura? Be weird if it was like Michelle Obama. If you're like, wow, I didn't know Vex was supposed to look like Michelle Obama.
Yeah, that would be a little strange, for sure. But the stat blocks are also quite chonky. Percival, No Mercy Percy. First of all, there's an ability of his called No Mercy, which is just brutal crit, or is the champion's crit on a 19 or 20. I'm not gonna lie.
Lie some.
Okay, I'll lie. Percy is best man, most powerful. No, Percy, I feel like would be fairly simple to take out compared to the other members of Vox Machina.
Well, if you got to remember, he's going to be his combat style was ranged, and he got 4 attacks plus action surge, and each of those attacks hit pretty hard. Plus, he had plenty of magic items that allowed him to boost his attacks power.
Yeah, the firearms that he has in his stat block do feel a bit toned down from what Animus and Bad News and some of his other weapons were in Campaign 1. Still formidable. The misfire mechanic is simplified for the guns. Cabal's Ruin is still really good.
Yeah, Cabal's Ruin is very good.
But the next stat block is Trinket.
Trinket.
CR5 bear. It's just a little bit better than your average bear. It's got plate armor.
Yeah.
61 hit points. If Trinket is reduced to 0 and is within 100 feet of Vex, he immediately goes to Vex's necklace.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vexalia herself, Fenthras, got the bramble shot, got Hunter's Mark, Cunning Action, Uncanny Dodge. Just kind of a mishmash of your rogue, your ranger. Again, I feel like her and Percy would be the easiest to handle in a straight up fist fight.
But again, that's going to lend you to it's going to lend a DM to learn about the tactics and how to run different characters different ways.
That's true.
Not everybody is just an infantry. Not everybody is a glass cannon. Gotta combine your groups to their strengths.
Especially if you play them how they are described in the book. For example, encountering Vex out with the Grey Hunters and allowing her to just kind of sit back while the Grey Hunters get in close with the party. I mean, she could really mess you guys up.
Oh, yeah.
Next, you have Pike Trickfoot. She has one of the longer after the epilogue sections. In short, she marries Scanlan and they have 2 children, Juniper, who they call Junie, as well as Will Handledon, who they call Wax. Oh, Scanlan. Eventually, when the kids grow up, they amicably divorce and remain close friends and occasional lovers. Pike then spends a lot of her time with Grog and likes to go hang out with Kiki, and Scanlan helps out his daughter, and all nice and lovely as you would expect.
Indeed.
But Pike, being the cleric, she is a 20th level spellcaster in her stat block. Has the Plate of the Dawn Martyr and a shield. She's going to be really hard to hit. Nothing too crazy, but a high level cleric is a high level cleric, and when you've got some powerful abilities with your Dawn Martyr, as well as your Mace of Disruption, Gauntlets of Ogre Power, Boots of Speed, and a special boon called the Everlight's Guidance, I think Pike would be one of the other ones that would really fuck you up, along with Keyleth.
But she wouldn't want to.
She wouldn't want to.
No.
Unless she's doing a battle royale style one shot, or a Vox Machina versus Mighty Nine Battle in the Hells sort of thing. Though she might just be more interested in ghost fucking Scanlan. Spoilers for that one shot.
Yeah.
Next up is Scanlan Shorthalt himself, as previously discussed. After they amicably divorce, it is noted he is approaching a century of life.
Yes.
He was 69 years old at the start of the campaign because Sam Riegel.
Yeah, because 69.
It's
nice.
It's pretty nice. Spends most of his time with his daughter Kaylee, operating their high-end trading business, Meat Man Imports and Sexports.
Oh.
Sam really had fun with this epilogue. You can really feel it. And then just a little stinger right at the very end. Just one sentence, its own, or 2 sentences, its own paragraph. Also, he has a mustache now. He thinks it makes him look distinguished. And his art has just a nice little twirly Frenchman mustache. Burt Reynolds, Esquire. Also a 20th level spellcaster. Scanlan has his Myth Carver, as well as +2 leather armor of acid resistance, a ring of protection that is +2, the hat of disguise, and a wand of magic missiles. Though he is also a 20th level spellcaster like Kiki and Pike, I feel like he'd be the easiest to handle. His armor class is a very manageable 16, 190 hit points. You get in close with him, his Myth Carver can like hurt you a bit, but as a 20th level spellcaster, doing 1d8 plus 1d6 plus 3 piercing damage is not really what you want to be doing.
No, of course. Again, playing how he was never in close if he couldn't help it, and
though he does have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws.
It's because he's a gnome.
He's a gnomey boy.
Gnomey boy.
And his arcane fist. Because I believe
Bigby's hand.
Bigby's hand is not in.
Yeah.
It's not in the OGL, sadly. That is one thing to note. A lot of these spell lists and feature names are going to be a little bit different because of the open gaming license and what they are and are not allowed to include.
Yep.
So some of them are, instead of spells, they've just become bonus actions or actions that use a spell slot.
Yeah, and things like obviously you can't really put a copyright on things like having magical hands, but the name Bigby on the other hand.
Yeah.
Which if you are watching the Critical Role Vox Machina Legends of Vox Machina animated show, you'll also see them do that there, where can't say Bigby's hand because that was of course in the campaign.
Yep.
Bigby's hand in the show. Not a spoiler. Just gonna be you know he's gonna cast it. It's Scanlan's hand. Scanlan's hands. But yeah.
But next, the other character Sam Riegel played, Terry and Darrington.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of pleased that I was very pleased they included Terry and Doty. After the epilogue, he's been running the Tarrington Brigade, but he left his home of D Stock in Wildmount, but he retired with his husband Lawrence to the Menagerie Coast, where he now likes to write fiction instead of nonfiction.
Yes.
Which is hilarious.
Doty, take that down.
Doty. CR6 construct.
Yes.
AC 17, hit points of 78. He's got an arcane surge to deal extra force damage to a target. Dedicated servant. Limited vocabulary is a feature.
Terry,
yes, correct. Absolutely. Soon, handsome, and the like.
Terry.
Can't be surprised. He's got an empowered fist. He can repair himself. He can deflect things.
Also, is a vacuum cleaner.
Our vacuum cleaner. Our vacuum cleaner is Doty. This is Doty X, a.k.a. Doty the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Doty 10. Very upgraded and new and fancy and lovely. Terry and Darrington, on the other hand, also a bit easier to handle, but he also never made it to level 20 like the rest of Vox Machina.
No, he, I believe, is capped at he is CR 10, I believe? 9. Yeah, because he was pretty mid-campaign, and then the Sam Riegel brought Scanlan back,
yep.
So...
He is classified as a 15th level spellcaster with just a +8 and a DC of 16, so nothing too crazy. He's got his Helm of Brilliance, Robe of Useful Items, and a Ring of the Ram. He also has a Bag of Holding. He has some Beads of Force, a Broom of Flying, and a Chime of Opening, because he was an artificer.
Mm-hmm.
Not the current release of the Artificer. At the time,
No.
it was a Unearthed Arcana.
UA, yeah.
But he's got some defense, resistance to acid and poison, and immunity to the poison condition because he's created so much disgusting shit, which I just find hilarious. He can command Doty. He's got advantage on concentration checks. All very manageable. I think Terry, if he were to fight a party, would be the most reasonable one to handle as a party.
Yeah, I mean, again, Terry's whole thing, Terry and Darrington's whole thing was to be on a broom and fly about and let other people do the work while he buffed them.
Yep. And he does indeed have that Broom of Flying. Now, the one who does not have an after the epilogue and is not named as his name in life, the Champion of Ravens, is a Celestial, CR 21. We know him as Vaxildan.
Mm-hmm.
He's Fate Touched, which is the included supernatural gift for this book. but he's got all of the roguey things you would expect. Assassinate, evasion, uncanny dodge. He still has his Boots of Haste. He still has Whisper. He's got a special ability, the Touch of Life and Death, which is neat. He's got his, as mentioned, his Boots of Haste, the Deathwalker's Ward and Whisper. He's got Shadow Smite as well, which is a unique feature to this. He's got some innate spellcasting, Bane, Bless, Greater Invisibility, and one of the only remnants of his previous life, he does have, at will, he can cast Druidcraft.
Yep, he took 1 level of Druid at the very end of the campaign so that he could give a flower to Keyleth upon his death.
Yep.
Death. His Ascension?
His Ascension. He also can't really die. When he's reduced to 0 hit points, his body is destroyed, but his spirit returns to the Raven Queen, and he gains a new body in 1d4 days. And he's mostly rogue. A couple little paladin-y things, and then just that kind of one hint at the druid that he took toward the end of his life. It's very nice. He's got an innate flying speed of 60 feet.
Yep.
Vax, I feel like would be really... Vax is... Sorry. The champion
of the Raven Queen.
The champion of ravens himself.
Champion of ravens.
Very slippery. Exceptionally slippery. He's like resistant to many things. He's immune to most conditions. The flying speed, the uncanny dodge, the cutting action. Like, he's going to be, I think, the hardest to pin down.
Oh, yeah.
He might not be the worst to deal with in a one-on-one fight, but...
I mean, if he gets to jump on you, you might not have time for a one-on-one fight.
Yeah, that's true. But he is the last member of Vox Machina in this campaign book. After that is the index and a list of the artists. A lot of great art in this book.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
They did not hold back. They have a lot of great artists in their community, and no reason to hold back on that.
No expense was spared in the art of this book. It also, at the very end, includes a map of Tal'Dori that is similar to the one that they released with the original campaign setting. Very similar in style and layout, though it does have some key artistic differences that make it a little bit more similar to the Wildmount map, I believe. It also might be exactly the same now that I'm looking at the two. One on our wall from the old one, and then one on my computer screen.
Well, when we finally get the hard copy, we'll have to.
It's taking forever to ship. It's taking so long to ship. Yeah. Which fair. I mean, like everyone's bought it, I'm sure. So.
And just in general, like paper, there's paper shortages. Because I know another company, MCDM, I kickstarted a different thing of theirs, different book. And like I've had the PDF for a couple months now, and they keep sending backer updates. They're like, "Hey, okay, we had to get a new printer because the old printer didn't have any paper, and then we had to barter with the new." That was literally one of the things. Like they didn't have the proper paper to print it on, and so yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. That's hilarious.
Crazy. We live in 2022,
man. Stay safe out there, guys.
Yeah.
Tal'Dorei Reborn. You can buy it on shop.critroll.com as well as Amazon. Should we set up Amazon affiliates?
I don't see why not.
I feel like that's something that we could do, like fairly easily, like make our own little Amazon shop.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't take that long at all.
No, I'll look into that. Dodie, take that down. Thank you, Dodie. That's all we got for you today.
Yeah.
We would normally check out the TikTok live comments and the podcast questions portion of our Discord server, but since we're re-recording this, we're not doing it.
We have no TikTok live, as we mentioned, and there are no questions in the...
Because we didn't announce that we were doing
Discord.
this.
No. There just aren't really questions in the Discord in general.
We have had some new additions to the Discord recently. I want to shout a couple of them out. Twisted Whiskey, John Keener IV, Fallen Angel, Technesis, and the Pi 147 have all joined the Discord recently, and they've helped out in making things a little bit more vibrant. There's a little bit more going on. There's not a lot going on. Join our Discord and show us how to use Discord, because we're not really good at it.
No, we have underutilized it at best. You set it up lovely.
The setup is fine. We just don't do much.
It's
The memes channel is pretty good, though we don't post nearly enough in there. But there's some good bits in there. We have a homebrew channel. You can get early looks at the homebrew that we're working on that will be released on DriveThruRPG, and you can post your own stuff as well. Podcast questions.
You can ask us questions for this podcast, or
guaranteed way to get your questions on the podcast. Pretty much at this point is to put it in that. The link to that is in the description of this YouTube video, as well as the link tree in the bio of our TikTok. If you are listening on a podcast service there of your choice. Available.
Many of them.
Spotify,
Apple, Google,
probably some other ones. Smart fridges.
Yes.
All that. Can't put links in those. So check out our TikTok and YouTube for links. All the links.
Or you could yell at the moon.
The moon does know the way.
Yes. The moon will respond to you in 3 to 5 business days, so that is a drawback. We're working on that, though.
And that also with recent shipping delays, the letters that the moon writes are possibly delayed by shipping, possibly lost in the mail as well.
Yes.
I've had some correspondence with the moon that has been eaten up by the USPS. So
should be noted, the moon also does not like to go out. So when the moon runs out of stamps, no, we can't really send until he's got
to wait for shipping.
Yeah,
he has Prime, but sometimes the 2-day shipping is really like 3.5 day shipping.
Yeah, so especially if you forget and order late on a Friday, you don't get it until Wednesday.
And I mean, I'm not criticizing the moon here.
No. I'm
not criticizing the moon here at all, but there have been on occasion a Friday where he uses his last stamp. It's 15 minutes before he's clocking out for the day.
Yeah.
And he might wait till Monday morning to reorder the stamps.
Yeah. Understandable. We've all been there.
Reasonable, but we probably should have a discussion about that.
I'm
happy to pay him the overtime to figure out an Amazon order,
Yeah.
I'll even round him up. If he takes 10 minutes, I'll give him the half hour. It's fine.
Sure.
Sure. So fucking stupid.
Yeah, so if you have any comments you would like us to make to the moon, please let us know via our Discord or TikTok live chat.
Yep. He's a great entity if you want to make a druid, a Circle of the Moon, or the new Tal'Dorei Reborn.
Yeah,
moon cleric. Or Twilight cleric from Tasha's as well.
There you go. Not a great employee, though.
Not a great employee. You can check out our YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We post the podcast there every other week. We're trying to get some shorts up there and some other YouTube exclusive content as well. Yes.
But
and our homebrew.
Oh, of course, our homebrew on DriveThruRPG.
DriveThruRPG link where all the other links are.
In the link tree in the bio.
Link tree in the bio. It's a 5 magic item pack. We talked about it at the top of the show. It's good stuff. We got a spell pack in the works. We got some feats. We want to do some more extensive homebrew as well. We might be charging for those. Not much.
No.
$5 maybe on the high end.
And right now, everything, like we were saying, everything is free. If you want to support us, feel free to throw us a few dollars. You don't have to.
They are pay what you want, but they will forever and always be free.
Mm-hmm.
We want to thank you all again for 10,000 followers on TikTok. That is a very big deal for us. That's our big milestone.
First big milestone.
Our next big milestone, we're not going to make any more number milestones.
I actually did think of one that I'd like to make a number milestone for.
69,000?
Yes.
Yeah. How did I know that? We will definitely be celebrating 69,000 followers if we ever get there. But our next big goal, we plan on going to Gen Con in August.
Yep.
If you go to Gen Con, come say hi to us. And that is our goal, is to have somebody at Gen Con know who we are. Mm-hmm. If we're doing a TikTok meetup, if we find other creators there, one of them knowing who we are would be huge.
Yeah. We'll be signing autographs. If you want an autograph from us, we're going to be confused.
We're going to be very confused.
But we will oblige.
Yeah. I mean, I'll sign anything, really. I'll sign your magic cards. I'll sign body parts.
Okay. I feel you're opening yourself up. What would you sign like a check that they wrote to themselves in your name? You said you'd sign anything.
But it'd have to be my check with my banking information. Would they be able to find that?
Oh, probably.
I don't have checks though.
Well, I'm sure they could forge it. If they're getting you to, if they're going this far, they're
Here's what I would do. I would sign the memo line, but then I would cross out the signature line.
There you go. Or just write null on the front.
Just write null on the, I would write
or void.
Null. I would write void very big
void,
on it. But then I would sign but I'd sign it like really, really small and long so that void looks like it's underlined at like an arm's length, but you look up and it's like, oh, that's Connor's name.
Neat.
I would do that. That's what I would do.
That'd be cool.
That's what I would do.
Be not likely to happen, but yeah.
Very good. If one of you makes that happen, I will buy you many drinks at a bar afterwards. Anyway, that's all the time we got for today.
This has been the Dungeon Bros.
The Dungeon Bros podcast. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Don't know what we'll be talking about quite yet.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure that out. In the meantime, Samuel.
Peace.